Hey! Sorry, my rabbit wants attention. Have you ever been writing a book and thought, who should I put this teenager with romantically? Ah, yes, the girl who's thousands of years older than him. This is a school essay that I wrote and I asked my friend, hey, do you think I should turn it into a video? I was kind of thinking about it. She said, yeah, go for it. So here we are. My bookshelf, I cleaned it up. Hopefully you can see my Percy Jackson books. If not, I'm gonna have to move them to the bottom of the shelf. Okay, no actual rambling. Actually read. The man really doesn't talk about the age gaps. And doing some research, there's some extreme stuff that is not talked about. So, here we go.
Me, extra thing I forgot to mention, there will be talk, of course, about age gaps and weird, creepy stuff. And there'll be credit for anything
links to their socials. Go follow them.
The Percy Jackson series, known by the fandom as the Riordanverse, since there are many spin-offs, the spin-offs are very well liked. With over 3 spin-offs, more than about 20-ish books in the Riordanverse, and over 180 million books having been sold worldwide in 2022. It's safe to assume these are good books objectively, yes. However, like everything, they aren't perfect. It has its flaws, specifically the problematic age gaps that come up multiple times within these books. Now, I've only read the first series, not the newest 2, The Heroes of Olympus, and I'm up to the second, Trials of Apollo. So that's what I'll be covering. There are 4 main instances of this problematic issue across these 7 books. I'll be referring to the ships to make things easier and less complicated as ship names. Ship names are 2 characters' names put together, sometimes last names, so like Percabeth, Cilantro, popular ones, Frazel, all those. Or they're put together, sometimes last names were used to refer to a relationship or 2 characters someone thinks would be good in a relationship, like 2 characters you want to be in a relationship. The family, yes, that's what the fandom refers to them as. The ship names for the things I will be going over is Frank x Hazel, which is Frazel, Calypso x Leo, being Caleo, Luke x Annabeth, Lukabeth. Lastly, Selena x Luke, which is Siluke, which is crazy there's even a ship name out there, because there's probably people that ship that, and I'll be going from least to worst, so get ready. Starting it off, we have Frank and Hazel's Levesque. How do you pronounce it?
Renee Levesque.
Levesque. Levesque. Okay, starting off, Frank. Oh, that's a typo. This is my actual essay. Oh, no, that's not. Starting it off are Frank Zhang and Hazel Levesque. Frazel. Frazel met when Frank was stated to be 16 and Hazel about 13. To put that in perspective, when Frank is 18, Hazel will be 16. Or when Hazel is 18, Frank will be 21. They're in the same group in Camp Jupiter and form a close bond that will later develops into feelings for each other. However, the reason they are first and not as bad as the other ones are A, the others are that bad, and B, the timeline-wise, even though the book claims they are 16 and 13, this makes no sense. Ignoring the fact that Hazel was born in 1928, timeline-wise, she was brought back to life around September as stated in Son of Neptune on page 47. Hazel scowled. Yeah, I joined up last September. She dies at 13, sometime around the end of winter, as she leaves New Orleans shortly after her birthday being in December. So, if she came back in roughly September, her 14th birthday would have passed, as it is the start of summer, roughly. So, roughly around May. Gotta move it down. Moving to Frank. An important event is his coming of Roman age, which is 14 to 15. In the books, it stayed to be 16. So, with this knowledge, Hazel's 14 and Frank, assuming he's still a little bit older than her, is barely 15. Although going off the knowledge of the reader, we are told Hazel is 13 and Frank is 16. She's rushed into a relationship very fast, not saying Frazel's a bad ship, with fixed age gaps. However, it's also stated she had another past relationship back in the 1930s. Or was it I? As soon as I got comfortable. Past. Not saying Frazel is a bad ship with fixed age gaps. However, it is stated she had another past relationship back in the 1930s with her friend Sammy when she was 12, as they had their first kiss on her 13th birthday. Now, this isn't the problem. Kids having feelings for other kids all the time. However, it is stated many times that Sammy, from her past life, is stated to be a past lover, as seen as a serious relationship. Therefore, from what the reader knows, a 13-year-old has been in 2 serious relationships. In conclusion, this relationship might make younger kids feel they need or should be in or have been in a serious relationship at such a young age. That was a mouthful. I hope you understand. Now, Calypso and Leo Valdez. Caleo. Leo is 15 and he gets sent to an island called Ogygia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ogygia, right? If I'm pronouncing anything wrong, I'm so sorry, but I think called Ogygia. I could look it up, but I don't feel like it. Where Calypso has been cursed to live, immortal since the first tide of war, a sorcerer. She is thousands of years old. Leo crashes on her island, and they get into disagreements. She falls for him. Later, he comes back and saves her, and she becomes mortal and loses all her powers and becomes 15. On the other hand, it is also mentioned many times in Trials of Apollo, the Dark Prophecy to be specific, that she is in fact older than even Apollo himself. Furthermore, she is very unkind and makes very inappropriate comments to Leo considering the age gap. Some examples being she called him the charboiled runt of a boy and calls him a mistake, later agreeing that he is scrawny and not that good looking while they are dating. She also earlier on makes a comment on his bare chest when he is embarrassed and tells her not to say anything. She says, nothing worth commenting on. It is known by the reader that Leo is very self-conscious. Even in this scene, he says that he's insecure from being bony and having battle scars all over him. Not to mention, the whole ship is forced. Not as in, oh, the author is forcing them together. No, Leo just wants a relationship because he is lonely since all his friends are in relationships. Calypso just wants to get off the island and is cursed to fall in love with any man that falls on her island. Plus, she's been in isolation for hundreds of years and doesn't know how to act around people or how a relationship should work in the modern age. To sum it up, Caleo has a huge age gap, with one person being a minor. Just because she is mentally 15 doesn't override the fact she has hundreds upon hundreds of years of life experience over Leo. Not to mention, what if she didn't look like she was 15? Most people would most likely not be okay with Caleo. I feel like I'm reading a child's book now. I should not. What could be worse than Caleo? I'm a big Caleo hater, so me saying something that's worse than Caleo, you know it's bad. Imagine this, a 23-year-old after getting stabbed looking up at the 16-year-old who just stabbed him, who he'd betrayed and manipulated, and much more. And his last words to her are, "Did you love me?" Luke X Annabeth, Lukabeth, is one of the worst and most terrifying canon-ish ships. Luke had saved young Annabeth while that feels weird. There's people outside. Luke had saved young Annabeth while she was 7, and he was 14. He took her in along with their friend Thalia. They stayed on the run for a bit. Before arriving at camp, Thalia sacrificed herself and gets turned into a tree. All Annabeth has left was Luke. Annabeth had looked up at Luke, even growing a crush on the older boy who had saved her, taken her in. To clarify, there's nothing wrong with Annabeth looking up and liking Luke. She was young, and that's normal. Whereas him reciprocating the feelings, that is very gross and inappropriate. He then betrays her and leaves her alone. Then proceeds to manipulate and nearly get her killed many times. He poisoned Thalia's tree, nearly killing her to manipulate young Annabeth while she was only 13 and he was 18. When he does ask if she ever loved him, Annabeth admits she thought she liked him, but she only ever saw him as a brother. You might argue he didn't mean it in that way. He wanted to know if anyone ever cared for him, as he had such a traumatic childhood with his father never really caring and left him alone with his insane mother at a young age. Sadly, it is very clear Rick Riordan meant in a romantic way. Annabeth in Mark of Athena talks about how she found out that he liked her back as he died. Another time it's proved it was meant in a romantic way was the Demigod Diaries. Percy said, a little backstory. Annabeth used to adventure with Hermes' son, Luke. Over time, Annabeth developed a crush on Luke. As Annabeth got older, Luke developed feelings for her too. It's kind of hard to say he never liked her when it's clear many times that he did. Even the way it's worded, the "did you love me?" when she answers no, like that, not like that, as a brother. He is sad and nods. He does not interrupt and say, oh no, not like that. No, he just turns and talks to Grover and Percy. Ultimately, this is, in my opinion, the worst case of an age gap on this list. The pure manipulation Luke used on young Annabeth is disgusting. Luke never gets fully called out. It's never said this is bad or not okay. It's just a normal thing that happened. He even goes down as a hero, and Annabeth is convinced he will get into asylum. Even the fandom has a lot of Luke, apologists and defenders, which it's very clear in the text. Doing that is, unforgivable. Continuing on Luke, there was more than one time Luke, at 17 or older, manipulated a young girl who he knew liked him. Luke and Siluke. He convinced her by flirting and using her known crush on him to join the Kronos army. It stated on the Riordan wiki that she joined his side shortly before he left camp at 17. As Luke knew about Tyson, meaning she had been the spy all the way in the second book, giving him information. She lost her life during the same war the same day as Luke, at 6 to 17, meaning he used her known crush on him to get her to be a spy when she was 13 or 14 and he was 17. This decision ended up later costing her boyfriend and her life later down the line at about 17 each. They had been planning on going to college, living a life. If it weren't for Luke, they would have lived long enough to learn about Camp Jupiter and gone to a safe college for demigods. In the end, Selena saw through the manipulation, and this is the one time, it's at least talked about in a negative light. It's seen as not seen as normal. Selena sees what happened, what Luke did to her, and sweeps in and saves them in the end, and dies a hero. And as she thought everything was her fault for being manipulated by someone older. I had to take breaks while writing that because it's really overlooked. You don't think about it when you're reading the books that was happening in the background. In conclusion, the Riordanverse series contains several age gap relationships where the older person is never held accountable for the actions of manipulating or pursuing someone much younger. These relationships are often portrayed as normal or even admirable, which can have negative effects on young readers, which, remember, these books are aimed at middle school kids, and they may feel it is normal to be in a relationship so soon and with people much older and more mature than them. It is important to consider the impact that these portrayals can have on young people's perceptions of relationships. Yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to end a video like this. If you want me to write, I might try to write more Percy Jackson essays for like school-wise, because I can make them long. This one was 4 pages. If you want more like that kind of content from me, I wouldn't mind. I could ramble. I could go on a whole, I'm building up evidence for Calypso, like all the times it was toxic in the books while I read. I could go on depending characters like Luke, Octavian, yeah. Jason, I have some big defenses for him, because overhated, but sometimes deserved. Yeah, but if you're interested, let me know, and I could continue this, because this was fun. Anyway, have fun editing me. Bye. Who's thousands of years